All right, let's take a look inside one of the most incredible, non-stop operations in the entire universe. Your own body. We're going to frame this as a bustling, high-stakes factory, the one that manufactures your blood. And more importantly, we'll see what happens when that system breaks down.
So have you ever wondered what's running all of that all the time without ever taking a break? Well, the answer is your blood. It's so much more than just a red liquid. It's a complex, living tissue with a massive, life-sustaining job to do. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, we're going to take a quick tour of the factory itself. We'll meet the key workers on the assembly line because this right here is the heart of the entire operation.
Now, the official name for this whole setup is the hematologic system, but what's really key here is the central idea. Just think of your bone marrow as the factory floor. This is where these amazing, unspecialized stem cells get their marching orders and transform into the vital cells our body absolutely needs to function.
And here they are, the three main products rolling off that factory line. First, you've got your red blood cells. Think of them as the tireless delivery trucks hauling oxygen to every single tissue. Then, you've got the white blood cells. They're the vigilant security force, tackling invaders like bacteria and viruses. And finally, platelets, the on-call repair crew, ready to spring into action and patch up any leaks at a moment's notice.
So, when it's all running smoothly, it's a beautiful thing. But what happens when things go wrong? Let's get into our first scenario, a supply crisis. This is what happens when the factory just doesn't get the raw materials it needs to operate.
And the most common type of supply crisis is anemia. In our factory analogy, this just means you don't have enough functional delivery trucks, those red blood cells, to get oxygen where it needs to go. This is exactly why the #1 symptom of almost any anemia is fatigue. Your body is literally running on fumes.
But, not all supply shortages are created equal. Over on the left, we have iron deficiency anemia. Think of this as a shortage of a key raw material, iron. Without it, you just can't build the proper hemoglobin for the delivery trucks. And check out those signs, spoon-shaped nails or pica, which is that bizarre craving to eat things like ice or even dirt. Then on the right, B12 or folic acid deficiency is different. This is more like a shortage of essential tools on the assembly line. The parts might be there, but you can't assemble the red blood cells properly. And the signs here are also really distinct, like a sore, red, beefy tongue or nerve issues, that classic pins and needles feeling.
Okay, so that's a supply problem. But what if the factory has all the raw materials and all the tools it needs, but the assembly line itself has a flaw in its design? What happens when it starts churning out defective products?
This brings us to sickle cell anemia. Here, the problem isn't a shortage of parts. It's a fundamental error in the blueprint for hemoglobin, that oxygen-carrying protein. The factory is basically genetically programmed to produce a defective version called hemoglobin S.
And this is the devastating result. When the body is under stress, say from dehydration or low oxygen, that defective hemoglobin forms these rigid crystals. This forces the normally flexible, disc-shaped red blood cell into a hard, sticky sickle shape. These aren't efficient delivery trucks anymore. They cause a massive traffic jam in the tiny blood vessels. It's a total logjam that blocks blood flow, leading to excruciating pain and serious organ damage.
Thalassemia is another disorder in this faulty product category. You can think of it as a different kind of production line defect. In this case, the factory struggles to manufacture one of the essential protein chains for hemoglobin. The result? Fragile, ineffective red blood cells that are destroyed really easily, which, of course, also leads to a serious form of anemia.
Okay, now we're going to escalate to the most serious category of problems. What happens when it's not the supplies and it's not just one product line, but the entire factory management system that completely breaks down?
Aplastic anemia is terrifyingly simple. The factory just stops. The lights go out. The bone marrow completely shuts down production, leading to a critical shortage of everything: red cells, white cells, and platelets. The technical term is pancytopenia, and it leaves the body unable to carry oxygen, totally defenseless against infection, and unable to stop bleeding.
And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have polycythemia vera. Here, the factory management has gone haywire and kicked into chaotic overdrive. It's churning out way too many red cells, white cells, and platelets. You might think more is better, but no, it's a disaster. The blood becomes so thick and viscous, it's like trying to pump sludge through your veins. This creates a huge risk of clots, heart attacks, and strokes.
So a crucial point here is that even with the right number of cells, other systems can still fail. In hemophilia, the delivery trucks and the security force might be perfectly fine, but the factory fails to produce specific proteins called clotting factors. Without factor VIII or I, our repair crew, the platelets, can show up to a leak, but they can't form a stable patch. A small cut or even a bruise can become a life-threatening bleed.
Let's just focus on that repair crew for a moment. This number, this is the normal range for platelets in a single tiny cubic millimeter of blood. It is a massive number, and for good reason. They are constantly on patrol, ready for action.
But in a disorder like ITP, the body's own security force mistakenly attacks and destroys its own repair crew, the platelets. When that count drops below 100,000, or sometimes much, much lower, the risk of spontaneous and severe bleeding just skyrockets. It's a really stark reminder of how a problem with just one of our factory's workers can have devastating system-wide consequences.
So, after this whole tour of the factory, after seeing all the ways production can go wrong, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it all comes down to learning how to listen.
All of these symptoms we've talked about, from profound fatigue and pale skin to unusual cravings or easy bruising, they are not just random annoyances. They're messages. Think of them as urgent status reports being sent up from your body's factory floor, warning you that something is wrong with production. Now, the point of this explainer is absolutely not for you to go and self-diagnose. Not at all. It's really to build a genuine appreciation for this incredibly complex and elegant system that's running inside you every second of every day. It's about recognizing that its warning signs are important and they're worth paying attention to.
Your blood, that river of life, is constantly communicating the state of your internal world. The only real question is, are you listening?